Okay, Vichy took the initiative on turn 2, so this is the response. I guess I'm up to the combat phase here. Around my Jadoon, you can see we've consolidated quite a bit, really, and I realised that there was an opportunity here to give the Commonwealth a bit of a bloody nose. So the 2 Legion units, one moved beyond Majordoon, which is the 2nd Battalion you can see there in front of the anti-aircraft guns, the 170th. The 2 colonial units, the Libyans, and I can't remember what the unit is underneath, it might be another Libyan unit, sort of alongside the DG'd Commonwealth stack, and then actually in Majordoon you've got the other Legion unit, plus those reconstituted Goom cavalry. The artillery moved back. There's nothing for getting a second DG unless you roll better than a DG, in which case you might well get a step loss, so we might well throw artillery in again, supply permitting. But the big thing is, if you look at that, and it's quite probably hard to see, but if you look at the map, there is a block terrain crest to the right of that DG. So in other words, it can't move into 2311. Its only form of retreat is back towards the 170th anti-tank to that crossroads in front of the big red arrow. Now obviously if it does that already with a DG, then we will get losses. So whilst the attack isn't a great one in terms of odds, I think it makes a lot of sense to the Vichy to try that attack and force the Commonwealth back there if it can. So that's the situation in that central area. If I just spin this around, I'm going to have to move it back slightly. So there you can see the situation to the coast. The 2 cavalry units that had moved up have now flipped to the combat side. So again, we've got decent strength in both those hexes, and then in behind them, I've just used that blue disc to help me spot again reserve units, if you like. We've got the armoured unit and an artillery unit. So we have 2 choices there in reserve, that if we think a Commonwealth attack is pending, we can try and use the artillery unit to DG the stack, at which point when it comes to its combat phase it won't be as effective, half strength again, or possibly both. The armour unit can actually move up into a hex and add its strength and action rating to the combat. So 2 good options in defence just to keep the Commonwealth a little bit off balance. So that's the situation at the coast. So as we move further afield, you'll see that Suida, we blew the last of the dumps. So that's now gone, and essentially everything is pulled back again. So we're coming back down the map here. We've created a new dump where you see the red cube. That truck has a dump on the ground, but it also has supply within it. Just on a side note, with regard to the supply dump blowing, we did do some more damage to that dump. It's still being controlled by the Vichy, so we rolled again, and you can see it's down to 1T. And actually, again, because nobody took it, and it stayed Vichy controlled despite all of the stuff around it, we managed to blow that one completely, so that supply is now gone as well. So coming back up that road, you can see the units have moved to combat supply and formed round. Back down towards Damascus, and see again strategic movement units moving up. Once again, unit in reserve there. Now that's recently released from Damascus. The armoured unit and the chasseurs, both very good units. They are in transit, moving up obviously to become a strategic reserve down that road. If we move back out over here, you'll see I've pulled that cavalry unit back, light tank unit back, the Levant light armour. I didn't see there was any point in pursuing down the road, so we've pulled them back. The little 2T came from across the sort of top left as we look at it there. I needed to move that just to get something in supply range so that we could fuel that Levant armoured unit. So that'll be the end of the Vichy movement. And I said the only combat will be down here in Majordoon. Okay, so the combat at Mejdoun, I said before, I think there is a chance that the a barrage could actually get a casualty. It's a pretty slim chance, but I think it's worth again giving it a go for the Vichy. So they're going to try it. At which point we need to take off 2T, which I think we have under there. Yes, we do. So we'll take that away. Apologies if you're confused by the setup. I've just tried to make it so you can see everything around. So I've kind of stacked them out. So the Commonwealth units you can see there with the DG are obviously where that red arrow is. The other Vichy units are in the hex. So here we go with the barrage. So it's again 8 factors, 2T spent, down 1. So the best we can get is an 11 or a 12. And we only rolled a 7, which is nothing at all. So no effect from the barrage. We're not going to do any more barrages anywhere else, so we'll go through to the... Sorry, I've just got to revise that. We might as well, right on the edge of the screen there, if I just rotate slightly and drag that back a little bit. We might as well... No, we put them in reserve. We won't. Sorry, we won't. We'll just carry on with the Mejdoun assault. I was thinking I might have barraged the Royals on the other side of the river, but of course I did put that unit into reserve, so we shan't. We can't and we shan't. So, combat. The Commonwealth is all halved, so its best its best AR rating would be a 3, down to a 2. We'll lead with the Legion unit that's in Mejdoun. So that gives us a 4. So in other words, we have +2 on the dice. We're going to go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. So it's going to cost us 5T. We'll take that all from the new dump that we set up, which you can't see on map, but it's way back in Dimas. And if I just swap that out, we moved all of our rail capacity to create that new dump, so it had 6T in it, and we've just spent it all in this one attack. So here's hoping it gets some results. Now that's another thing, because the zone of control from the 2nd Battalion, the 6th Legion, which jumps into the hex in behind the Commonwealth stack, stops them from receiving supply from their headquarters. So they will be on internal stock for supply, because they don't want to be halved again. So in other words, they're burning ammunition they have carried with them. Expensive to replace, but has to be done in situations like this. So, surprise first of all. And as I said, there's a +2 modifier on this for the action ratings. Now then, there's the surprise roll. Now it's a regular attack, so we need a 10 or more. Well, we just said there's a modifier of +2. So that is indeed attacker surprise. So now we roll for how many shifts? Okay, not bad again. It's only a 4, but that's 4 shifts for the Vichy, which is going to help because it was only a 3-to-1, rounding it up in the close. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That takes us to a 12-to-1, which is a much better looking attack. So now we roll 2 dice for the actual combat. Wow. The Vichy roll a 10. +2 is a 12. Now then. We don't get it. For the attacker it's an AE3, but because we've attacked from 3 separate hexes, we can't take the exploitation. So we can forget that altogether, but it does mean that obviously we had no negative effects, no casualties. So that was a great attack by the Vichy. So then, what does it mean for the Commonwealth. Well, for the Commonwealth, it's a DL2, option 2, DG, which is a lot. So we know we've got 3 steps in there, and I think that actually destroys that entire force, because DL2 means we need to lose 2 steps. So there's our DL2. Take them off the map. They're gone. So our surviving unit would have been the Pioneers there, let's suppose, but they are already DG, and they have to retreat twice. And as I said before, retreating from here, they can't move that way, because of this ridge line that blocks movement altogether. So the only possible hex is that hex, and that hex is in the zone of control of that Legion unit. So when they retreat into that hex, having already been DG'd, they take a step loss and are removed. So that would be the end of that fight, essentially. And in terms of following up, I think I would leave those units in Majidun, and I think I would simply move the Legion unit into there, and I would move that unit on top of the Legion unit. In fact, no, I think I will just simply leave. I'll keep the strength at 6, and I'll do it like that. And that is quite a result for the Vichy, because that completely solved the issue at Majidun. We still hold the town, the city. The Commonwealth force is actually being completely removed. If you look under there, we've got an artillery unit and an anti-aircraft unit, and in fact they're in serious trouble if they don't get out of there. Unfortunate again that the Vichy have nothing to pursue with, but if they stay within range of those units at Majidun, they are more than capable of pushing down that road. So there we go. Turn 2 of the Vichy. The next phase would be the exploitation in combat. So we do have 2 units in the main section, which I'll just move as part of that. Then we'll do a cleanup, and we'll start the second player turn for the Commonwealth. Okay, so this is June 10th, Commonwealth turn. As you'll recall, this is pretty much trying to just recover, so there's a lot of stuff moving up the coast. The Wilson HQ has relocated to Kandaroon just to give it a greater range when it deploys up towards the Litani River, which is obviously the next thing for the Commonwealth to try and hit. Given that probably the centre isn't looking too great at the moment, if we come across towards the middle, I apologise for the lighting here. Trying to carry this on even though it's actually I'm under artificial light. Pulled back a little bit, reinforced a little bit. Sadly it's looking very weak in this central section, so if we kind of pan back down this road, toying with the idea of bringing in an air base where you can see that engineer unit there to give us some air cover over that central area, something we haven't really looked at the minute. Units moving up there from along the Hasbani River. New unit, the cavalry, just moving across there to cover, but again they'll probably start to motor back on and up. Come back down and around. Again, not too much. We've just been catching up, and we've spent quite a lot of supply again on movement. So quite a few units have tried to move where they can, just with leg. Remnants of the attackers of Fick there. The Royal Fusiliers, I think that is. And obviously I've stacked them slightly awkwardly just so that I can see that there's a French cavalry unit under there that needs to have its DG removed in the cleanup phase. Coming further across, so looking slightly Napoleonic here, a long line of Commonwealth units. Most of the battalions are actually in the motorised mode, so only strength 3, but reasonable ratings. But we are, we're trying to maintain contact and move up. Some stuff further back, you can see again that the Lloyd HQ has redeployed to Deraa. We're fortunate down here because we've also got the French HQ, which is underneath that, the highest of the two transport units there, because essentially what we've been doing is moving the supply from Idib over there at the far left and bringing it along to the supply dump in front of Mafra, although it will now need to move. Actually it won't, because Lloyd can then distribute it from Daraa. He's easily within movement allowance. Yeah, so overall that's pretty much the situation. I don't think the Commonwealth will put in any attacks. We could do a spoiling attack with the RAF or something, but we have a lot of units coming shortly again, so I think more interested in consolidating. In fact, if I do the cleanup, that would virtually be the end of that turn. So why don't we roll while we're here? We'll roll for initiative again, this being the end of the 10th turn, beginning of the 12th. I'll pick these dice up. Sorry, I don't know if I showed you the dice. The dice said 8. That was essentially the roll for the Commonwealth supply. So 2 SPs and 2 T they got this turn. Okay, initiative, here we go. Commonwealth first again. So there we go, we've rolled a 7 for the Commonwealth. Now let's try the Vichy. And we roll a 6. So, Commonwealth have choice. Interesting. Okay, we'll pick that up in the next video.